Greetings. My name is John Pointer. I'm here to talk to you about how I became an activist and a federal and state whistleblower for decades. I want to talk to you about my background and where I came from. I'm from a small town about 60 miles originally from Nashville, 60 miles south from Nashville, Columbia, Tennessee. I grew up in the 60s, in a time when I did experience the Jim Crow separation law, and I was part of the new generation that was under the integration laws, where I went to public schools with white students. I had a chance to play football at Vanderbilt University, and I got my degree. I got my English degree. I had a chance to move forward and play Canadian football in Canada, where I met my lovely wife of today after 35 years. We now have 2 children who now grown, and they have their own family, so we're grandparents. Life as an activist, life as a whistleblower, you've got to have commitment. When I first had a recognition of understanding how to be an activist, I studied, I watched as a child all the protests down south in Birmingham, in Selma, in all those areas. I grew up in a loving family. My mom and dad would also just reassure us that education, that understanding that if people were in your way, blocking you in advancements, understand that you can go around them or go over them. And I had a chance to be, as I mentioned, a student athlete that taught me the principles of respecting the team and the team presenting itself as a group. Sort of similar to Remember the Titans, one of my favorite movies. As I initially went to Canada upon graduating from Vanderbilt in 1980, I went to Canada in 1981. First, let me back up. I was a free agent at Cincinnati Bengals. I didn't make the team. I went to Canada, and I was very fortunate. I was on a great winning team, Edmonton Eskimos in Edmonton, Alberta. I still have friends still to this day, almost 40 years, and I still stay in contact with them. But starting in Canada, and I was there for several years, I had a chance to understand what does it take to work in the corporate society. What does it take also to be involved in the community? Not just go into the community and sign autographs. Yes, I did those things. We did those things collectively as a team, and I did that individually as well as a quote-unquote celebrity. But I had a chance to see real issues, and I knew of the real issues, some of the issues in the South when I was growing up. I knew of issues as a young man when I was at Vanderbilt, but I wasn't hands-on. I was at a distance. Now as a grown man, I could go and sit and spend hours in underserved communities. Upon retiring from the Green Bay Packers, I had a chance to really implement one of my entrepreneurial interests. That was in the petroleum distribution business. Let me give you an example. For every General Motors car, which was at the time the Saturn car, coming off the assembly lines here in Spring Hill, Tennessee, my company was supplying fuel to all those to all those cars. The city of Atlanta doing their Olympic era, I was supplying fuel to the city itself and to the transit authority, which is MARTA. I was supplying fuel there. We were also under war. We were in an attack of war during Desert Storm. I was supplying any and all fuels to these manufacturing plants in Redstone Arsenal, Alabama, and also in West Tennessee, an ammunition plant in Martin Marietta. My point is that my company was generating about $25 million in sales. I had signed for investments under the United States Small Business Administration's Minority Business Program, where a certified small business investor here in Middle Tennessee was allotting small business loans in this area. Upon their approval, the Small Business Administration as a federal government assuring that this was a great fit as far as my business, getting my business loan from this small business investor, I moved forward and I was bringing in major contracts. Unfortunately, I identified some potential fraud that was taking place. I signed with that small business investor in 1990. By 1993, the Department of Justice and the Small Business Administration found the small business investor guilty of harming women and minority businesses based upon my notification. Apparently, this investor had stolen over $30 million. Now, because of the problems, because of the issues that the federal government and the guarantees that the federal government initially offered, I didn't get. So therefore, I had to file bankruptcy for my company and to protect my family. We also filed bankruptcy. That was 1993. By 1997, I was recruited by Governor Don Sundquist and his executive administration. I became the state director of the Small and Disadvantaged Business Program under Tennessee Department of Transportation. During that period, there was a major lawsuit against TDOT and that particular program, and they needed someone who could really help clean up that program. Now, this program investigates and certifies annually to make sure under federal and state stipulations that if you're a majority owner of your company and you're a woman or you're a minority-owned businessman or business individual or ex-military veteran, and you're a military veteran, you have the right to be identified as a minority business enterprise or a woman business enterprise in order to get in particular alignment of some of the billion-dollar procurement that the state and federal government offers to prime contractors and to women and minority small business contractors. Well, by by the year 2000, I had cleared away companies that were bogus and that were sham, and they were doing at least over $700 million worth of business with TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation. I had removed them off the books based on concerns about their annual certifications, that it was either, again, a bogus company or a sham company. So once I turned in valid proof and my reasonings for removing them from the books, which was accepted by TDOT officials and executives, I was terminated in 1999. Now, the year 2000, under a new governor, Tennessee Phil Bredesen, I was asked to be the assistant state director of a brand new program, Section 8 Contract Administration. They needed assistance in heading up that $250 million program. Now, mind you, as I was trying to work on implementing a brand new program under Tennessee Housing Development Agency, which the acronym is THDA, I was still being recruited by the Tennessee Attorney General and the lead counsel for TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation, because the Memphis Minority Contractors Association still had their class action lawsuit that was filed against TDOT when I was there employed, about the fact of the lack of minorities getting contracts. While spending many, many hours of identifying new discovery information, taking depositions, and even going to court and testifying in court, I eventually lost my employment and my executive position at Tennessee Housing Development Agency. So, in 2013, let me back up. I was terminated by Tennessee Housing Development Agency in 2005. So in 2007, that was 2006, in late 2006, early 2007, that was a massive hurricane, Hurricane Katrina. I was part temporarily of the Hurricane Katrina recovery process. I was recruited by the state of Mississippi to be the head coordinator of the Minority and Small Business Development for the state of Mississippi. I was there long enough to know that there was a lot of problems. And during my stay there in Mississippi, I was asked by, at that time, the assistance of Senate Majority Leader Dr. Bill Frist and Dr. Tom Corbin from Oklahoma, to come and testify on how loosely these women and minority business programs are losing billions of dollars. And they wanted me to testify. Because I testified, I went to Washington to testify, I was terminated in Mississippi. So in 2013, mind you, life goes on. I had intermittent jobs, in between those years, but I want to get to the point of being an activist, and then as well as being a whistleblower. In 2013, in my hometown of Columbia, Tennessee, 60 miles from Nashville, had an opportunity, my family and I, to invest in an existing Sears hometown store. We needed just a small business loan for operation purposes. So I applied at a rural, small town investor who receives funds from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA. I was denied, even though my company was doing over $1 million a year in sales. I was denied my small my small operations loans, which was less than, it was about 80,000. I had 40% of that in liquidity. I just wanted a small business loan to help in the initiation of running this store. After I was turned down by the USDA's rural small business investment firm, I initiated a full-scale investigation by the Civil Rights Office of the USDA in Washington, D.C. By the year 2015, the Civil Rights Office identified that the rural investment company here in Middle Tennessee had been illegally or wrongful in their operations. They were out of compliance. So USDA put them on a 2-year compliance agreement. Now, I did not receive my loan after that either. So what I want to tell you is that being a whistleblower, being an activist, there's going to be an unmeasurable amount of retaliation and discrimination. I'm here to help you to understand if you want to become a social and an economical justice activist for justice in your hometown, in your community, in your state, or for this nation. Allow me to help you to conduct the proper channeling and understanding some of the things that you will be up against. Good luck and all blessings. Peace.